This is another one of those videos where we're comparing a relatively inexpensive gun with a substantially more expensive gun. Welcome to Rider's Range. This isn't the first comparison we've done with a, I won't say a cheap gun, but an affordable gun versus one that's definitely much higher priced. However, in the past, the guns have all been of the same family. 1911s. We'd compare guns of the same size and the same caliber against each other, comparing maybe a $400 gun versus a $1,600 gun. We did a couple of those. So the guns we're comparing today aren't even in the same family and have a lot of differences, but they also have a lot of similarities. The P01, now this is the Omega model, has a manufacturer suggested retail of around $650. You can generally find these going for about $600, with a caveat. This particular one has the Cajun trigger and upgrade system in it, which makes the trigger a whole lot nicer than a stock P01. And that kit alone costs a little more than $200, about $300 if you're having somebody else install the thing. So, in cost, this gun is around a $900 gun. On the other hand, the Wilson EDC X9 has a manufacturer suggested retail of $28.95. So, 3 times the end cost of this with the Cajun trigger in it. Again, both metal frame guns, both 9mm. Both have 15 round magazines. Now, another caveat on this, the P01 comes with a 14 round magazine, except the ones that it comes with have a rubberized base plate. These are Metcar aftermarket, but they're essentially the same as the standard 14 round mags, and these fit the same. Base pad's the same, except it's a polymer base pad. The rubber base pad has a tendency to catch on a cover garment, and it just doesn't make it as comfortable to conceal as the polymer base pad. And this gives it 15 rounds, so the same capacity as this. And the magazines are substantially the same size. The magazine for the Wilson is just a couple thousandths thicker, but that's insignificant. They weigh close to the same, and again, when you're loaded with a 15 round magazine plus 1 extra round for the chamber, the P01 comes in at 34.5 ounces. The Wilson, on the other hand, comes in at 36.5 ounces. So 2 ounces more to get the Wilson versus the CZ P01. Again, you're asking me, why am I comparing these two guns? Well, A, because I can, and B, because they do have a lot of similarities. We'll get the differences out of the way first. The biggest difference, obvious, is that the P01, by the way, these guns have been safety checked. They are, in fact, unloaded. With the Omega system, can be carried, as this is right now, cocked and locked, and fired with a single action type of trigger. And we'll talk about triggers in just a minute when we get into the similarities. Flip the safety off, press the trigger, and fire this single action all day long. Or lower the hammer and safety on or safety off. If the safety's on, you still got to thumb it off, and if the safety's off, either way, just pull the trigger, and it's a double action. First shot, single action second shot, but it has a pivoting trigger. Now, again, the Omega trigger is much straighter than the regular CZ75 series triggers, which have a much more pronounced hook. And again, I got this because it has the capability of being carried cocked and locked. Wilson, on the other hand, has more of a in fact, it is a 1911 style trigger, and it's a very, very nice trigger. Straight pull, not pivoting. So this one is carried cocked and locked all the time. So if you're carrying this, the P01, the P01 cocked and locked, it's still not substantially different than the Wilson. All right, more differences. The P01 has a rail. Now you can also get a similar model, but not with the Omega trigger, that does not have a rail. That would be the CZ75 Compact, I believe, and I think you can get that also in aluminum frame, but again, you don't have the Omega kit, so you don't have the cocked and locked capability. Now, there's no rail on this particular EDC X9, but you can get them with a rail. Let's see, other differences are the grip. The grips on the Wilson are proprietary grips, and you can only get replacements right now through Wilson, and they're not as easy to change. Now, the Wilson does come available with different back straps, different trigger lengths, as well as different grip colors. The CZ P01, on the other hand, takes the standard 75 compact grips. These are cool hand grips. I don't like the rubberized grips that comes with a gun, so I put the cool hand G10s on it, and one screw on each grip panel, and these can be replaced. There's a wide selection of grips available for this gun, not so much for the Wilson. Trigger guards are different, and very large trigger guard opening on the P01, and it even has the serrated hook on the front of the trigger guard for those who still go by the old school with a finger or two on the front. The Wilson has just a rounded trigger guard, but it still has a fair amount of room on the inside, considering it has the 1911 style trigger. Grip profile, rounded backstrap, slightly different shape in front. Whereas the Wilson is, even though it's a double stack, it's more of a 1911 style. It's a 1911 angle, really. This gun just feels different in the hand. This almost feels like grabbing a pipe, whereas this just fits the hand so nicely. And again, you know I'm a 1911 guy. I mean, we tested 44 1911s in the Great Affordable 1911 series. Yeah, plus the EDC X9, we tested a Wilson Professional. So I like 1911s. I still carry a 1911, but I got this with the idea that it feels so good in the hand, and even though it's not a 1911 style with the Omega trigger in it, it's pretty close. We're going to get to the range comparisons on those here in a few minutes. And before we go any farther, I do want to mention that CZ, which makes also Dan Wesson, which you know is my favorite line of 1911s, has been teasing us since SHOT Show with a hybrid, the 1911 style trigger in the CZ75 type platform. It's called the DWX, full size and compact, and those are only going to be running around $1,800. I can't wait for those to be released. I keep checking the sites daily, looking for one. I want to test it because that'll be the best of both worlds. The great trigger for the 1911 with the ergonomics of the CZ75, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. All right, so a couple of more differences, but not substantial differences. Again, this is a $2,900 gun here. So with that, you get the fluted chamber. This is the Wilson EDC X9, of course. You get a fluted bull barrel. You get basically a tri-cut type of slide that does have texture on the top to cut glare. You get, and I love them or hate them, but you get their hexagonal or hex-tack type front and rear cocking serrations. Same basic pattern on the front of the grip frame and on the back of the grip frame, and it sort of carries through into the starburst grips themselves. So very nicely finished pistol, serrated rear of the slide. Really good fit and finish with the frame slide extractor on the ejector on the left, and since this has an external extractor, sorry 1911 aficionados, but I lost you anyway when I was talking about a double stack. So there's no fitting of the extractor on this, but a really nice fitted pistol, and you can feel it just working the action on this. Really nice. The P01, on the other hand, is a little different in that the slide rides inside the frame rather than outside the frame as it does on a 1911. But that's the CZ style, which means the forward cocking serrations are a little harder to get to just because you got the frame in the way, but they still work. Same thing with rear cocking serrations. Now the angles of the two don't match, and some OCD people may say, well, if they don't match, I can't have the gun. Well, okay. External extractor doesn't really have a tri-cut slide, but it does have a slight ridge here that's also serrated down the middle, so it sort of has the feel of almost of a tri-cut. Fit and finish is just about, I can run my fingers over this and not feel much of a difference, just a little. The grip frame on the CZ just has serrations in the front and serrations in the rear. Not any checkering, certainly not the hex tack like on the Wilson. The Wilson has a flush crown barrel. It's dirty because we did range work with this. Reverse crown barrel that's flush fit with a slide. Really nice Wilson touch on it. Love the looks of this. I just love the fit and finish of this gun all the way around. Barrel sticks out just a little bit here. Not a big deal. It's not reverse crowned or anything. Not a bull barrel. Full length guide rod. Oh, full length guide rod in the Wilson also. They both have ramped barrels. Again, they're pretty dirty just because they've been out on the range. Reliability with both of these guns has been phenomenal. I've probably got close to 1,000 rounds with the P01. I'm knocking on the door of 2,000 rounds now through the X9, and they have run very, very, very well. Sights. The sights on this are not tritium. They appear to be a luminous paint, so that when they're exposed to light, they do gather the light and they do emit a light for a while. White post front that is pinned in, and a square notch 2 white dot rear sight that's drift adjustable for windage, and that's it. The Wilson, on the other hand, has a fiber optic front sight. The rear sight is a U-notch. It's a battle sight and is adjustable, drift adjustable for windage, but it's also height adjustable. Any other differences on this? One complaint I hear often about the double stack guns is the width of the grip. CZ and Wilson have pretty much solved that. Don't let the gaping mag wells on the CZ P01 and the Wilson EDC X9 fool you. These guns are ranked right now from left to right in the width of the grip. So let's take a look at the thinnest right now, which is the Dan Wesson ECO with starburst thin grips on it, and 1.147. The CZ P01 with the cool hand grips on it, 1.217. The Wilson EDC X9, 1.312. And the Smith & Wesson with standard grips on it, 1.331. So the double stack guns are just a little bit wider than the single stack with the slim grips on it, but narrower than the single stack 1911 with standard width grips on it. So they really have solved the problem of the grip width in the double stack guns. Triggers are interesting. This one comes in under 3 pounds, and I weighed it today, and the 5 pull average on the EDC X9, beautiful trigger, almost no take up, clean, crisp trigger. It's a Wilson, of course, no over travel, really short reset. Oh, just love the trigger on this. And today's average was over 5 pulls was 2 pounds 9 ounces. The P01 Omega, on the other hand, and again, this is if you're carrying it cocked and locked, you got quite a bit of take up, but crisp, clean, but then you got over travel. This thing, believe it or not, breaks consistently at 2 pounds 8 ounces in the single action. Now, it does have a longer reset, more take up, and still at crisp, but more over travel. And again, it's a pivoting trigger as opposed to a sliding trigger. All right, if you choose not to carry this cocked and locked, and there's a reason that you might not want to, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. That means double action first shot. And with the Cajunized kit in this Omega trigger, the double action on this is running an average over 5 pulls of 7 pounds 1 ounce. Now, I'm not a CZ expert by any means. I'm not an expert really at anything. I just like to shoot guns and talk about them. But when I talked to Tim at Ann Arbor Arms, he is the CZ expert. He said that out of the box, the Omega trigger is better than the standard CZ trigger in pull, but once it's been Cajunized, the Cajunized non-Omega is generally going to be a little better than a Cajunized Omega. Again, I like the Omega because of the single action. So nice trigger in both, but it does take some getting used to if you carry it double action first shot. You know, if you grew up with the double action first shot guns, then it's not a big deal. I'm still working on getting used to this. But if you try to carry it cocked and locked, here's where I have an issue. Now this has an ambidextrous safety, but that safety is not what I'm used to. And to grab it, and it's higher up than the safety on a 1911, and there's not as much to it. Safety on a 1911 is right where my thumb wants it for up and down, and I shoot with a high thumb right on the safety, and nothing beats a 1911 safety to me. Just doesn't work as well on this. It takes more to work it. I can't engage the safety as easily without changing my grip on the gun. I can't ride it as easily just because there's not as much meat there to hang on to. So it's a disadvantage to carrying this cocked and locked. I have a tendency to now be carrying it even though it's the Omega trigger. I'll decock it so my first shot's double action, and that's how I've been practicing with it lately. So one more thing is the magazine release. Easy to get to, even though it's double stack, easy to get to that magazine release on the Wilson without changing my hand position. Also easy to get to on the CZ P01 without changing my hand position. So either way, they're going to work. I like them. All right. So the big question is, does a $2,900 gun really work that much better than, okay, with a Cajun kit in it, a $900 gun? Is it worth the extra 2 ounces? Is it worth 3 times as much money? So to find out, I mean, these are supposed to be carry guns. So we took them out to the range and shot them with the timer on the plates, and starting from a low ready position. All right, when you see the video, you may not call that a low ready. It's certainly not a compressed ready, but I wasn't on the sights. I was looking at the target. Sound of the beep, bring the gun up and hit the silhouette, and then run 6 plates. And I stumbled with both of them. I missed a couple of targets with the CZ. I missed a couple with the EDC X9. My times were relatively consistent. So what happens when I took them out to distances? I think I skipped 25 yards and went straight to 50, and I'm hitting fairly regularly at 50, and I'm missing fairly regularly at 50 with these guns. So they're shooting both about the same. I don't know. So it's a matter now of expenses, of course, but it's also a matter of feel. Again, I mean, comparing totally different guns, this time different platforms and everything. The trigger, getting used to the double versus single, or getting used to the fact that it's a pivoting trigger with take up and over travel, is a whole different ball game than the Wilson. But is that something that you can overcome for a difference in almost $2,000 in difference in price? Now, street price on this is, on the Wilson, is only going to be around $2,450, $2,500. And by the way, I bought this one used, and I won't tell you how much I paid for it, but substantially less than $2,400. And again, I bought this one new, and again, by the time we get the Cajun kit in it and everything, we're still probably knocking on the door close to $900 for this. But still, even at substantially less than $2,400, if this is twice the price of this, is that trigger worth it? Yeah, that 1911 trigger, you can't beat it. But man, just the feel of the grip on a CZ, I know. I hope I'm not upsetting the 1911 crowd too much, but just the feel on that CZ grip versus the feel on the EDC X9, they just feel different. All right, that's my take on it. You know, to me, there's one thing missing on both of these, though, and again, I won't belabor the issue, and I know I'm probably gonna get another war started here with those who like and don't like the other safety on a 1911, but I love that grip safety. Boy, I still love the feel of my ECO too. I wish these did have a grip safety, because to me that is it's a secondary safety that, well, actually it's third. Your first safety is your trigger finger, obviously. Second safety is the manual thumb safety, and the third is the grip safety. But just having that extra safety, and I know there's a school of thought that hates grip safeties, but I happen to love them. So that's just my personal opinion on it. So which one am I going to carry? I'm still carrying this one. I'm getting used to the trigger on this. In fact, I ran some more drills from the holster with this one that maybe I'll bring a couple of up on video. I didn't time them, but I did work with this from the holster, and I'm going to take it out and start timing first shot and so forth. I worked with a double action, single action, and I haven't worked with this under the timer from the holster with the Wilson. I'm guessing they're probably going to come out about the same, but I still have to get used to the trigger on this CZ P01 Omega. I like it. I like what it represents. I love the feel. Can't wait. I've already said it again. I can't wait for that DWX to come out, and I really hope that I can get an early one and get a review out to you. So probably took a little longer this than I originally expected, but a couple of different but similar guns, and maybe we'll have to do some more of these in the future. All right, if you like these videos, we really appreciate a thumbs up, and we're still growing the channel, so share the videos. Please click on the subscribe button, click on the notifications button. Comments, we really like comments. Put comments on this video, put them down below. Comments on anything else, put them to my email at info@ridersrange.com. If you want to see what's coming up, what has happened, as soon as I can catch up with the website a little bit, www.ridersrange.com. And that's it for drastically different price points, drastically different types of firearms, but a lot of similarities. It'd be interesting to see what kind of comments show up on this. There's CZ fans and there's 1911 fans, and but hey, this isn't really a 1911, is it? All right, that's it. Thanks for visiting Riders Range, and we'll see you again.